The desperate plea. The emergency beacon pierced through the silence of Zenith Core Station like a scream in the void. Chancellor Varys of the Lidery delegation stood trembling before the assembled representatives of 72 species, her silver skin pale with fear. The holographic display behind her showed scenes that made even the most hardened diplomats look away. Cities burned. Civilian shelters collapsed under relentless bombardment. Children ran through streets filled with smoke and fire. The Vorkan swarm has breached our outer defenses. Varys' voice cracked as she spoke. They ignore all communication attempts. They refuse negotiation. Our people are dying by the thousands. We have no military. We never needed one. Please, someone must help us. The massive chamber fell into uncomfortable silence. 72 species, hundreds of delegates, and not one voice rose to answer her plea. Ambassador Chen of Earth sat in the human delegation section, his dark eyes moving from face to face, watching the careful neutrality, the political calculations happening behind alien features. High Chancellor Ruthless of the Centauri Collective finally spoke, his tentacles writhing with nervous energy. Chancellor Varys, we sympathize deeply with your situation. However, military intervention requires extensive debate. We must consider the political ramifications, the economic impact, the potential for escalation. My people don't have time for extensive debate. Varys' voice rose with desperation. The Vorkan swarm launched 53 warships. Our population centers are defenseless. In 3 days, there will be no one left to save. Military Coordinator Threxis stood, her crystalline body refracting the chamber's lights into rainbow patterns. Our nearest battle group is stationed in the outer reaches. Transit time would be 18 days minimum. We would need 14 days to organize a proper response coalition. Protocol demands we exhaust all diplomatic channels first. Diplomatic channels? Another delegate interrupted. The Vorkans are a nomadic warrior culture. They don't recognize diplomatic immunity. They view peaceful species as prey. Then we must try harder. Ruthless insisted. Violence should always be the last resort. We are a civilized council. Chen listened to the debate spiral into familiar patterns. Procedure. Protocol. Political considerations. He had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Assembly for 2 years now, and he had watched this same dance play out dozens of times. Talk, debate, form committees, discuss implications, and by the time action was authorized, the crisis had usually resolved itself through tragedy. He thought about Earth's history. The wars, the conflicts, the hard lessons learned in blood and fire. Humanity had debated too while genocides unfolded, while innocent people died, while evil acted and good people discussed the proper procedure for response. Never again, they had said after each tragedy. And yet here was the galactic community making the same mistakes on a cosmic scale. Chen stood slowly. His movement caught attention because humans rarely spoke in council sessions. They were still the newest members, their military untested in galactic conflicts, their predator nature a source of constant unease among species that had evolved from prey animals. High Chancellor, with respect, how many Lidery are dying while we debate? Chen's voice carried clearly through the chamber. Ruthless's tentacles stiffened. Ambassador Chen, I understand human impatience, but we must follow established protocols. Established protocols that guarantee thousands will die before help arrives. Chen walked toward the central platform. Earth's Second Armada is currently conducting training exercises in the Gamma sector. Admiral Torres can reach Lidar Prime in 6 hours. The chamber erupted. Delegates spoke over each other in dozens of languages. Translators struggled to keep up with the sudden chaos. Several representatives stood, gesturing animatedly. The word predators echoed through multiple conversations. Ruthless raised his primary tentacles for silence. The gesture took nearly a minute to restore order. Ambassador Chen, humanity has been part of this assembly for only 2 years. Your species evolved on a death world. You come from a planet where nearly everything tried to kill you. Your military tactics are aggressive, unpredictable, and frankly terrifying to most species here. We cannot simply unleash human forces without proper oversight and planning. Chen met Rothus's gaze steadily. High Chancellor, I've been listening to debates in this chamber for 2 years. I've watched committees form to discuss forming other committees. I've seen diplomatic missions launched to negotiate with species that don't believe in diplomacy. I've observed protocols designed to ensure everyone feels comfortable while people die waiting for help. My species learned a painful lesson in our history. When innocent people are being slaughtered, every second spent debating is another life lost. This is highly irregular. Threxus interjected. Military deployment requires council authorization. There are procedures. Chen pulled a small communication device from his jacket. Tell me, military coordinator, do your procedures bring back the dead? Do your protocols comfort children who watch their parents die? Does your authorization process rebuild burned cities? He pressed a button on the device. Admiral Torres, this is Ambassador Chen. You have green light authorization. Proceed to LiDAR Prime. Transmit coordinates now. Execute rescue protocol immediately. A woman's voice responded instantly, clear and professional. Understood, Ambassador. Second Armada is already calculating jump coordinates. We'll be there in 5.7 hours. Torres out. The council chamber exploded into chaos. Delegates shouted. Some demanded Chen's immediate removal. Others called for sanctions against Earth. A few looked relieved, though they were careful not to show it too openly. Rothus's skin flushed dark purple with rage. Ambassador Chen, you have just committed a severe breach of galactic law. You cannot deploy military forces without council approval. This is unconscionable. Chen turned to face the entire assembly. His expression remained calm, but something in his posture had changed. It was subtle, but every predator species in the chamber recognized it. It was the stance of something that had made a decision and would not be moved. Let me be very clear. Chen's voice cut through the chaos. Right now, at this moment, Lidari civilians are burning to death. Children are dying. Hospitals are being bombed. You want to form committees and debate proper oversight while genocide unfolds. My species stopped doing that after we learned our lesson the hard way. We learned that evil acts while good debates. We learned that innocent people don't care about your procedures when they're watching their families die. You're implying this council doesn't care about innocent lives. Rothus's voice shook with anger. I'm saying you care more about feeling comfortable than about stopping mass murder. Chen replied. You can condemn us afterward. You can sanction Earth, fine us, even expel us from this assembly if you want. But Admiral Torres is going to LiDAR Prime, and she's going to stop this massacre. You can file your complaints after the Lidari children stop dying. Chancellor Varys had been standing frozen throughout the exchange. Now she stepped forward, her voice barely above a whisper. Thank you. Thank you. A communication panel lit up on Rothus's console. He activated it with obvious reluctance. A human woman appeared on the screen. She wore a dark uniform with Admiral's insignia, her black hair pulled back severely, her face showing the kind of calm that comes from extensive combat experience. This is Admiral Sarah Torres of Earth's Second Armada. We have just entered faster-than-light travel and will arrive at LiDAR Prime in 5.6 hours. Requesting permission to engage hostile forces threatening civilian population centers. Rothus's voice rose nearly to a shout. Admiral Torres, the Council has not authorized military action. You must abort this mission immediately. Torres's expression didn't change. High Chancellor, I'm receiving active distress signals from multiple population centers on LiDAR Prime. There are civilians in immediate danger. Respectfully, I will not abort. This is a direct violation of Council authority. Threxus stepped forward. Request denied. You will turn back immediately. Torres looked directly at the camera. Her voice remained professional, but there was steel beneath it. Military coordinator, with all due respect, we have civilians calling for help. Earth does not ignore distress calls. Second Armada is committed. Torres out. The screen went dark. The council chamber fell into stunned silence. Every delegate stared at the tactical display as 8 blue dots appeared at the edge of the projected star map. The human fleet was moving toward Lidar Prime at speeds that made several species' fastest ships look like crawling insects. Chen walked back to his seat calmly. He sat down and folded his hands. Around him, delegates whispered urgently to their aides. Some stared at him with fear. Others with barely concealed anger. A few with something that might have been respect. Varys approached the human delegation section. Her entire body trembled, but her voice was steady. Ambassador Chen, my people will remember this. Whatever price Earth pays, we will remember that you acted when others debated. Chen nodded once. Then he looked up at the tactical display, watching the blue dots accelerate toward the red markers representing the Vorkan swarm. His voice was quiet, but in the silence following Varys' words, everyone heard him. Now watch what happens when you threaten something humanity has decided to protect. Admiral Sarah Torres stood on the bridge of the destroyer Endeavor's Fury. The tactical display showed 53 Vorkan warships in orbit around Lidar Prime. They were firing indiscriminately at the surface. Cities, farms, industrial centers, it didn't matter. The Vorkans were conducting what military analysts called a terror raid. Maximum destruction, maximum civilian casualties, designed to break the spirit of peaceful species and make them compliant when the swarm returned. Casualty estimates? Torres asked quietly. Commander Jackson looked up from his console, his face grim. 37,000 confirmed dead. Numbers climbing every hour. They're targeting population centers deliberately. Schools, hospitals, residential zones. Torres's jaw tightened. Weapon status. All ships report ready. We have full missile complement, rail guns charged, point defense systems active. We're outnumbered 6-1, but our ships are faster and our weapons have better range. The communications officer interrupted. Admiral, the Vorkans are broadcasting on open channels. Let's hear it. A harsh, guttural voice filled the bridge. The translator made it sound arrogant and cruel. Weak creatures of Lidar Prime, you called for help. The soft humans answered. They send 8 small ships against our 53 battle cruisers. When we finish crushing them, we will return to finish with you. This is what happens when prey species forget their place in the natural order. Jackson glanced at Torres. They think we're going to run. Torres smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. They've fought council species before. Species that evolved from prey animals. Cautious. Defensive. They wait for overwhelming numerical superiority before engaging. She leaned forward slightly. They've never fought humans. She activated the fleet-wide command channel. All ships, this is Admiral Torres. Initiate Wolfpack Protocol. Authorization Code Sierra Tango 77. Across the fleet, captains acknowledged the order. The human formation changed immediately. Instead of approaching in standard battle formation, the 8 destroyers split into 4 groups of 2. Each pair moved in a different direction. On Zenith Core Station, the council delegates watched the tactical display in confusion. What are they doing? Rothiz asked. They're dividing their forces. That's tactically insane. Chen sat forward slightly. Not if you're a predator. The first pair of human ships disappeared behind Lidar Prime's larger moon. The second pair moved into a dense asteroid field. The third pair used the planet's magnetic field to mask their energy signatures. The fourth pair positioned themselves behind a gas giant in the outer system. Within minutes, the human ships had vanished from Vorkan sensors. On the Vorkan flagship Bone Crusher, Commander Kroth watched his sensors with amusement. His species had evolved as pack hunters on a world of constant competition. They understood predator tactics. But they viewed themselves as the apex predators of the galaxy. The humans are hiding. Krotha's mandibles clicked with laughter. They're afraid. Should we pursue them? His weapons officer asked. No. Let them hide like scared prey. We'll finish destroying the planet's infrastructure first. Then we'll hunt down the human ships one by one. Continue bombardment. Target the water purification facilities next. Torres watched from her position behind the moon. The Second Armada had complete stealth capabilities. Technology Earth had developed but hadn't shared with the Council yet. The Vorkans had no idea where they were. They've gone back to attacking civilian targets. Jackson said quietly. They think we ran. Torres's voice was cold. They think fear motivated our tactical repositioning. They don't understand that we were just getting into position. She pressed the fleet command channel. All packs, prey has shown its weakness. Now we strike. Target engines and weapon systems only. Disable, don't destroy. These raiders will stand trial for their crimes. Admiral, why not just destroy them? Jackson asked. Because we're not like them. Torres said simply. We kill when we must, not because we can. There's a difference. That's what makes us human instead of monsters. The human ships moved into position silently. 4 hunting packs, each targeting different segments of the Vorkan fleet. They used the moon's gravity, the asteroid field's cover, the planet's magnetic interference to mask their approach. Every move was coordinated with precision that came from thousands of years of human warfare, distilled into tactical doctrine. Kroth noticed something on his sensors. A brief flicker. What was that? Before his sensor officer could respond, the human fleet appeared. All 8 destroyers materialized from different directions simultaneously. Their weapons fired before the Vorkans could react. The Vorkan cruiser Prey Taker lost all 4 engines in the first 2 seconds. Weapon systems exploded across its hull in precisely targeted strikes. But life support remained intact. Emergency power functional. The crew was alive but helpless. Across the battlefield, the pattern repeated. Human ships moved like wolves, striking from unexpected angles and vanishing before the Vorkans could target them effectively. Every shot was calculated. Engines disabled. Weapons destroyed. Communications arrays shattered. Nothing else touched. They're not trying to kill us. Krotha's weapons officer said in shock. They're hunting us. All ships return fire. Kroth screamed. Concentrate fire. Don't let them separate us. But the Vorkans were already separated. The humans had struck the command vessels first, disrupting coordination. Now the Vorkan fleet was 53 individual ships trying to fight 8 organized predators. The Vorkan ships fired desperately, but the human destroyers were too fast, too coordinated. They used the battlefield itself as a weapon. Asteroids for cover. The planet's gravity well for momentum. The gas giants' radiation to mask their signatures. In the council chamber, delegates sat in stunned silence. The battle had lasted exactly 7 minutes and 43 seconds. All 53 Vorkan cruisers were disabled and drifting. Not one destroyed. Not one human ship even damaged. The Second Armada circled their prey in a loose formation, weapons still active, waiting. Impossible. Rothis whispered. They dismantled a Vorkan battle group in less than 8 minutes. Chen spoke quietly, but everyone heard him in the absolute silence. They're predators, High Chancellor. They hunt as a coordinated pack. They use terrain and tactics. They strike from multiple angles with overwhelming precision. Every human child learns these concepts before they're 10 years old through stories about wolves and lions and orcas. It's woven into our cultural memory. We spent 200,000 years hunting creatures bigger and stronger than us. We learned to win through intelligence, coordination, and ruthless efficiency. Torres's face appeared on the communication screen. Behind her, the tactical display showed the disabled Vorkan ships. Vorkan Commander Kroth, this is Admiral Sarah Torres of Earth's Second Armada. Your fleet is disabled. Your weapons are offline. Surrender now and you will be treated according to galactic law. Your crews will receive medical attention. You will stand trial for your crimes, but you will be treated with dignity. Krotha's face appeared. His mandibles were spread in what humans had learned was a threat display. You think you've won, human? We will never surrender to prey species. We're not prey. Torres said. Her voice was calm, but something in her eyes made even the watching council delegates uncomfortable. You came here to terrorize the helpless. Instead, you found predators. Real ones. Now you have two choices. Surrender, or we disable your life support systems and let you drift in space until your air runs out. Council rescue ships can recover your bodies in a few weeks. Your choice. Kroth stared at her. In all his years raiding Council space, no species had ever threatened him like this. Council races negotiated. They pleaded. They offered terms. They never made cold calculations about letting enemies die slowly in disabled ships. You're bluffing. He said, but his voice carried uncertainty. Torres leaned forward. Commander, I need you to understand something about humans. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. We learned to hunt creatures bigger and stronger than us. We learned to survive in deserts and frozen wastelands and jungles filled with poison and predators. When we decide to protect something, we don't stop because it's difficult or unpleasant. We do whatever is necessary. She paused, letting her words sink in. Those people down there are under humanity's protection now. You hurt them. I'm trying very hard to follow council law and take you prisoner instead of simply destroying your fleet. But understand this clearly. If you make me choose between following the rules and protecting civilians, I will choose the civilians every single time. Surrender now. The silence stretched. Kroth looked at his disabled fleet, at the human ships circling like sharks, at the admiral who spoke with the calm certainty of a natural predator. His mandibles slowly closed. We surrender. Torres nodded once. Smart choice. All Vorkan vessels power down all remaining systems and prepare to be boarded. We will send medical teams to assist with your wounded. You will be treated according to galactic law. She turned to her crew. Get me a channel to the Lidery government. Tell Chancellor Varys the raiders are neutralized and her people are safe. The Predator's mercy. The Vorkan prisoners sat in the Endeavor's Fury's holding areas, watching their captors with something approaching confusion. Human medical teams moved among them, treating injuries with the same careful attention they gave their own wounded. A Vorkan warrior with a broken limb received pain medication and a stabilization cast from a human medic who worked with quiet efficiency. Why are you helping us? The Vorkan asked through a translator. We would have killed you all. The medic, a young woman named Santos, didn't look up from her work. Because you're wounded and we're not monsters. She finished securing the cast. There. Keep weight off that for at least 2 weeks. You'll heal properly. Commander Kroth watched from his own cell as human soldiers passed by. They didn't taunt. Didn't threaten. Didn't display the triumph he expected from victorious warriors. They simply did their jobs with professional efficiency. A human officer stopped at his cell. Commander Jackson introduced himself. Commander Kroth, Admiral Torres has authorized me to inform you of the charges being prepared. War crimes, attacks on civilian targets, and violation of the Galactic Peace Accords. You and your crew will be transferred to Zenith Core Station for trial. And then you'll execute us. Croth said flatly. Jackson shook his head. Earth doesn't practice capital punishment, and we insist on due process for prisoners. You'll receive legal representation. The evidence will be presented. You'll have opportunity to speak in your defense. Then judges will determine your sentence. Crotha's mandibles clicked in confusion. You're predators from a death world. Why show mercy to enemies? Jackson was quiet for a moment. Because showing mercy when you have the power to destroy is what separates civilization from savagery. My species learned that lesson the hard way over centuries of warfare. Power without restraint makes you a monster, not a warrior. On Lidar Prime's surface, the situation was still precarious. Vorkan ground forces had taken hostages before the fleet battle. 300 Lidarese civilians were being held in the planetary assembly building in the capital city. The moment the fleet was defeated, the ground commander had made a desperate decision. Lieutenant Kresh activated his communication device. All units, execute the hostages immediately. If we cannot win, we'll make these predators watch their protected prey die. In orbit, the Endeavor's Fury's communications officer intercepted the transmission. Admiral, we've decoded a Vorkan ground communication. They've ordered execution of hostages. 300 civilians in the capital city assembly building. Torres's expression hardened. Captain Rodriguez, you have authorization for immediate combat deployment. Execute extraction protocol. You have 5 minutes at most. A calm voice responded. Understood, Admiral. Raven team is already moving. 3 human dropships detached from the Endeavor's Fury and accelerated toward the planet. They hit the atmosphere at speeds that made the Lidari tracking stations flash warnings. Council observers on Zenith Core watched the telemetry in disbelief. They're going to burn up at that velocity. Threxus said. Chen shook his head slightly. Human ships are built to handle death world conditions. They can take it. Captain Maria Rodriguez stood in the lead dropship as it screamed through atmosphere. Around her, 24 special operations soldiers checked their weapons in practiced silence. This was what they trained for. Hostage rescue against hostile forces in urban terrain. 60 seconds to target. The pilot announced. Ground sensors show 37 Vorkan raiders in the building. Hostages are concentrated in the main assembly hall, 3rd floor. Multiple exits blocked. Raiders are armed with energy weapons and appear to be preparing for mass execution. Rodriguez pulled up building schematics on her helmet display. The 3-dimensional layout appeared, overlaid with heat signatures showing enemy positions. Team 1, you take the south entrance. Team 2, north entrance. Team 3, you're with me through the roof. Remember, we're here to save civilians. Lethal force authorized only for immediate threats to hostages. Anyone who surrenders gets taken alive. The dropships didn't land. They couldn't risk the time. Instead, they hovered 10 meters above the assembly building, and the soldiers rappelled down. Rodriguez hit the roof and immediately activated her plasma cutter. The building had been designed for administrators, not military defense. The roof gave way in seconds. Inside, Lieutenant Kresh heard the sound above. What was that? Then the ceiling exploded inward and humans dropped through. Rodriguez landed in the hallway outside the assembly hall. Through the doors, she could see the hostages. Lidari civilians huddled together in terror. Vorkan raiders stood among them, weapons raised toward the crowd. One raider had his weapon pointed directly at a Lidari child. Rodriguez's rifle fired once. The raider dropped with a tranquilizer dart in his neck. He was unconscious before he hit the ground. Around her, her team fired with mechanical precision. Tranquilizer darts. Stun rounds. Targeted shots that disabled without killing. Human soldiers. Kresh screamed into his communicator. Kill the hostages now. 2 raiders raised their weapons toward the civilians. Rodriguez's team moved faster. Advanced tactical computers in their helmets calculated angles, trajectories, and probabilities in milliseconds. They shot the weapons out of the raiders' hands before they could fire. The precision was almost mechanical. Kresh found himself surrounded by 5 human soldiers. Their weapons were pointed at him but not firing. Rodriguez stepped forward, her helmet retracting to show a calm, scarred face. Put down your weapon. She said in Vorkan language. You've lost. You should kill me. Kresh said. That's what predators do to defeated enemies. We're not like you. Rodriguez replied. Drop the weapon or I'll take it from you. Kresh lunged forward, trying to use his superior size and strength. Rodriguez moved like water. She sidestepped his attack, caught his weapon arm, and used his own momentum to send him face first into the wall. Before he could recover, she had him restrained with his arms secured behind his back. Team 1, all hostiles subdued. She said calmly into her communicator. Team 2, status. North section clear. 15 hostiles stunned or surrendered. No civilian casualties. Team 3, roof access secured. All entry points controlled. Rodriguez looked at the terrified Lidery civilians. An elderly one stepped forward, their silver skin trembling. You saved us. Why? Because someone needed help. Rodriguez said simply. She helped the elderly Lidery to their feet. Are you hurt? No, but you're predators from a death world. We've heard the stories. Rodriguez smiled. It was a warm expression that transformed her scarred face. Yes, we're predators. But on Earth, even predators protect their young. Even predators defend their pack. Even predators help those who can't protect themselves. That's why we're here. A Lidery child, barely able to walk, approached one of Rodriguez's soldiers. The soldier, a large man with visible scars and intimidating armor, knelt down slowly. The child reached out and touched his chest plate curiously. Why didn't you kill them? The child asked, pointing at the unconscious Vorkan raiders. The soldier's voice was gentle. Because killing should only happen when there's no other choice. We stopped them without killing them. That's better. The child considered this. Are all humans like you? The soldier glanced at Rodriguez, who smiled. We try to be. We don't always succeed, but we try. Medical teams arrived minutes later. Human medics treated Lidery civilians and wounded Vorkan raiders with equal care. The raiders who had been preparing to execute hostages watched in confusion as the same humans who had defeated them now ensured they received medical attention. On Zenith Core Station, the Council delegates watched the entire operation unfold on live feeds. From the moment the dropships entered atmosphere to the last hostage being evacuated, exactly 4 minutes and 17 seconds had passed. 0 civilian casualties. 0 human casualties. 37 enemy combatants subdued with minimal injuries. Ruthless's tentacles hung limp. I don't understand. They defeated the Vorkans utterly. They could have killed them all. Why didn't they? Chen stood slowly. Because that's not who we are, High Chancellor. Yes, humans evolved as apex predators. Yes, we come from a death world. Yes, we're exceptionally good at violence when necessary. But we're also capable of mercy, compassion, and restraint. That's what you've never understood about humanity. Our strength isn't just our ability to destroy. It's our ability to choose not to. Phrexus spoke quietly. In all recorded history, no species has ever defeated a Vorkan battle group so quickly. And no species has ever treated Vorkan prisoners with such care afterward. That's because most species either lack the strength to defeat them or lack the compassion to show mercy. Chen replied. Humans have both. Torres appeared on the main screen. High Chancellor Ruthless, the situation on Lidar Prime is secured. All Vorkan forces are in custody. 0 civilian casualties during rescue operations. We're beginning humanitarian aid distribution now. Medical teams are treating wounded. Engineering teams are assessing infrastructure damage. We estimate 3 weeks for full restoration of essential services. Ruthless seemed to struggle for words. Admiral Torres, I must acknowledge that humanity has demonstrated remarkable capability. However, your actions were still a severe breach of protocol. The Council will need to address this. Address it however you want. Torres said calmly. File complaints, levy fines, draft new regulations. But while you're doing that, understand something clearly. Earth will not stand by while innocent people are slaughtered. We'll work within your rules when possible. But when forced to choose between following procedure and saving lives, we'll save lives every single time. If that's unacceptable to the Council, then perhaps humanity isn't a good fit for this assembly. The Council chamber erupted again. Some delegates supported Torres's words. Others demanded sanctions. A few species, those who had lost populations to Vorkan raids while the Council debated responses, were notably silent. Chancellor Varys stepped forward. Her voice was steady now, stronger. High Chancellor, my people owe humanity a debt we can never fully repay. Ambassador Chen and Admiral Torres acted when others would not. They saved us. And they did so with minimal violence and maximum mercy. If the Council punishes Earth for this, then perhaps the Council needs to examine its own priorities. Several other delegates nodded. Species that had suffered while waiting for Council authorization. Species that had watched their people die during endless debates. Chen spoke into the charged silence. High Chancellor, humanity isn't asking for special treatment. We're not demanding exemption from rules. We're simply saying that when people are dying, we will act. You can establish oversight afterward. You can review our actions. You can hold us accountable. But we will not watch genocide unfold while committees debate proper procedure. Ruthless's tentacles moved in a gesture that might have been acceptance or might have been exhausted defeat. The Council will take this matter under advisement. For now, I propose we focus on humanitarian aid for Lidar Prime and processing the Vorkan prisoners according to galactic law. On Lidar Prime, human engineering teams worked alongside Lidari workers to restore damaged infrastructure. Human medical teams treated thousands of wounded. Human security forces maintained order while local government reorganized. Rodriguez walked through the capital city, watching her soldiers interact with Lidari civilians. One soldier was teaching Lidari children a simple Earth game. Another was helping repair a damaged school. A third was sharing food rations with a family whose home had been destroyed. A Lidari approached Rodriguez. He was young, his silver skin marked with burns from the attack. I'm Kelvin. I was in the assembly hall. You saved my life. Just doing our job. Rodriguez replied. No. Kelvin shook his head. You could have killed all the raiders. That would have been faster, safer for you. But you risked your lives to take them alive. Why? Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. On Earth, we have a saying. The true measure of strength isn't how much you can destroy. It's how much you can protect. We're strong enough to destroy, so we have the luxury of choosing mercy. The Vorkan said humans were predators who would conquer us eventually. Rodriguez smiled slightly. We are predators. But being a predator doesn't mean being cruel. On Earth, wolves care for their pack. Lions protect their pride. Even sharks maintain balance in their ecosystem. Predators aren't monsters. They're survivors who learn to use strength wisely. She looked at the damaged city, at humans and Lidari working together. That's what we're trying to be. Strong enough to help, wise enough to show restraint. 3 days later, the Vorkan prisoners were transferred to Zenith Core Station for trial. Human guards ensured their safety during transport. Human legal advocates helped them understand the process. Human diplomats ensured they received fair treatment. Commander Croth sat in a holding cell, watching humans pass by. One stopped. It was Commander Jackson. "I wanted you to know," Jackson said. "Your crew will be treated fairly. The trial will be public. Evidence will be presented. You'll have legal representation. Whatever the outcome, you'll be treated with dignity." "Why?" Croth asked. "We showed your prey species no mercy. Why show us any?" Jackson considered the question. "Because how we treat our enemies defines us more than how we treat our friends. If we became monsters to fight monsters, we'd lose what makes us human." He paused. "My grandfather fought in Earth's last major war. He told me something I never forgot. He said the hardest part of being strong isn't defeating your enemies. It's staying civilized after you've won." Croth clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Perhaps humans are more dangerous than we thought. Not because of your weapons. Because of your principles." Jackson smiled slightly. "Now you're beginning to understand." On Earth, the news of the LiDAR Prime rescue spread quickly. Some criticized the breach of protocol. Others celebrated the successful mission. But most people simply felt pride that when someone called for help, humanity had answered. In his office on Zenith Core, Chen received a communication from Earth's government. The message was brief. "Well done, Ambassador. We support your decision." Torres stood on the bridge of the Endeavor's Fury, preparing to return to regular patrol duties. Her crew had performed flawlessly. 0 casualties. Mission accomplished. Civilians saved. "Admiral." Commander Jackson approached. "I've been thinking about what Commander Croth said. About us being predators." Torres nodded. "We are predators, Commander. We evolved to hunt. We evolved to fight. We evolved to win. But we also evolved to protect our families, to form communities, to show compassion." She looked at the stars beyond the view screen. "That's what makes us human. We're predators with principles. Warriors with mercy. Strong enough to destroy and wise enough to choose not to." "What do you think will happen with the Council?" Torres smiled. "They'll debate. They'll discuss. They'll form committees to study the implications. Eventually, they'll create new protocols that probably won't prevent the next crisis any better than the old ones. But maybe, just maybe, they'll learn something from this." "What's that?" "That strength without compassion is tyranny, but compassion without strength is useless. Humanity offers both." On LiDAR Prime, reconstruction continued. Human teams worked alongside LiDAR workers. Bonds formed through shared labor. The LiDAR, who had known only peace, learned from humans who understood both war and mercy. Chancellor Varys stood in her rebuilt office, looking at a gift from Admiral Torres. A small sculpture from Earth depicting a wolf protecting cubs. A predator caring for vulnerable lives. It captured something essential about humanity. The LiDAR had been saved by predators who chose to protect instead of conquer. By warriors who knew when to fight and when to show mercy. By a species strong enough to defeat enemies and compassionate enough to treat them with dignity afterward. In the council chamber, delegates continued their debates about humanity's role in the galactic community. But across the galaxy, a new understanding spread. Humanity was indeed predatory. Humanity was indeed dangerous. But humanity was also capable of remarkable compassion, restraint, and moral courage. The council had watched in silence as human predators answered a desperate call. They had watched as human warriors showed mercy to defeated enemies. They had watched as human soldiers risked their lives to save both civilians and enemy combatants. Some species still feared humanity. Others began to respect them. A few started to understand that the most dangerous predator wasn't the one that killed without thought. It was the one that killed when necessary but chose mercy when possible. Ambassador Chen sat in his quarters, composing his report to Earth. He concluded with a simple observation. Today, humanity proved that we belong among the stars not because we're the strongest or the most advanced. We belong here because we're strong enough to protect the weak and wise enough to show mercy to the defeated. That's the legacy Earth brings to the galactic community. Admiral Torres addressed her crew before they departed the system. You've shown the galaxy what humanity stands for. Not just our strength in battle, but our strength of character. You defeated a superior force through skill and coordination. Then you treated your enemies with the dignity they didn't show their victims. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us worthy of the stars. On Lidar Prime, that Lidery child who had touched the soldier's armor stood with their parent, watching human ships prepare to depart. The parent asked the child what they had learned from the humans. The child thought carefully before answering. I learned that being strong means you can protect people. And being good means you choose to protect them even when it's hard. The humans are both strong and good. That's why they helped us. The parent held their child close, watching the human fleet form up for departure. Yes. That's exactly right. As the second armada left Lidar Prime, heading back to their patrol duties, they left behind a world rebuilding, a population grateful, and a lesson that would echo through the galactic community for generations. True strength includes the power to destroy and the wisdom to show mercy. True courage means risking yourself to protect others. True civilization means treating even your enemies with dignity. Humanity had answered the call. The Council had watched in silence. And the galaxy was beginning to understand what it meant when humans said, "We're here to help." The predators had come. But they had come as protectors, not conquerors. As warriors with principles, not monsters. As a species that understood the terrible cost of violence and chose it only when necessary to protect the innocent. That was humanity's gift to the stars. Not just the ability to fight, but the wisdom to know when fighting was necessary and the compassion to show mercy when it was possible. The Council might never fully understand humanity. But they were beginning to respect them. And that was enough. For now. The end.